show. Meet Your Candidate series. No spin, no agenda, no endorsements, just the candidate. If you like the show, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm Casey Ingram. Let's get into it. Today, we're joined by Kylie Micciche, candidate for Stuart City Commission Group 5. Kylie Micciche is a Treasure Coast native and business owner who operates one of the area's top paver companies. With hands-on experience in construction, infrastructure, and traffic safety, she brings a practical, solutions-focused approach. A dedicated conservationist, Kylie is deeply committed to protecting local wildlife and improving water quality in her community. Kylie, thank you for being here. And let's just start with something simple. Let's tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you for having me. This is so exciting. Just one thing I would like to get out to the viewers is I am a Treasure Coast native. I have been all over the Treasure Coast from Vero all the way down to even like West Palm area. I have seen the overdevelopment across the entire state, and it's just horrible to see what has happened to our state and especially to our area. The Treasure Coast means so much to me. I unfortunately moved away from this area for family reasons. I had some family that were sick, and so we went and took care of them. But I had to come back here. I mean, I love this place. It's beautiful, and that's what I would want to get out to the viewers about me is that I was born here, I was raised here, I would like to stay here my entire life. I love this place so much. It's something I've always tried to protect. I've always been involved in like beach cleanups, and even when I just go out on the water myself, because I'm frequently out on my boat. I always try and clean up the rural waters. It's something that's meant something to me since I was a little girl.
So, can you give us a little bit more on your background? What experiences prepared you for this role?
Absolutely. I am a local business owner. I have owned my own business since I was 18 years old. So I have been hands-on in this kind of world for a very long time. Before that, I worked for a tow company, so I was heavily involved in our traffic issues as well as FDOT. So I'm very familiar with traffic safety issues, especially with the hot spots here in Martin County for accidents, especially here in Martin County. It's the accidents that we have are in the same areas again and again and again. So that's one thing that I have a lot of experience and background in, is especially with my business, construction. I'm constantly dealing with the infrastructure, pavers specifically. That's your roads. Here in Stuart, pavers are very important because they're actually a permeable surface instead of just like concrete and asphalt that doesn't actually soak up the water like pavers do. So that's a little bit of background on me. I've been a business owner since I was 18. I've been involved in our politics and in our local politics across the Treasure Coast since I was about 16 years old. So I've been heavily involved. I was a homeschooled student. I did not go to school around here. I was online almost my entire school career. I got into homeschool when I was about in seventh grade, and then I completed everything when I was about 16 years old. So I graduated then. So I've always been a very ambitious overachiever. The second I graduated, I did end up going to IRSC for a little bit. And I ended up leaving because I found out my professor had never owned or operated or even managed a business. So I couldn't take that seriously. So I went and started my own business. And so far, I'm one of the top paper companies on the entire Treasure Coast. This is my second year for being one of the top five.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
that's the business you started right out of school?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go on, talk some topics here that are near and dear to everybody's heart and Stuart. And there's a lot of big issues that have come up over the past. And one of the largest ones right now is, of course, that Bright Line train station. Give us your thoughts on that. As you know, the current city commission opposed that station. The county came back in and said, nope, we're going to put it on our piece of property in Stuart anyway. It's going to be completely taxpayer funded, nothing by Brightline. So what are your thoughts on all that?
My thoughts on Brightline specifically, it's great in theory. It's something that I would like to eventually see here in Stuart. Stuart is only Stuart because of a train station. So somebody like me, I care a lot about our history and about preserving that. So it's a little ironic to be here years later and we're arguing about a train station. I think where they want to put it is just not proper. It's not right. I think the idea of it going down to where the old fairgrounds is a very good idea. The parking is already there. There's not a need for a parking garage or anything like that. It's all there already. It would be awesome to be able to send people both to downtown and to Port Salerno. But the main thing is, of course, it being taxpayer funded. It is a private business. It should fund themselves. And if they can't fund themselves, then they don't get to do the project. I am a business. It wouldn't be right for me to take millions of taxpayer dollars and make all the roads in Stuart pavers, and that would be ridiculous. I can't do that. It's totally a no-go, and so that's my main issue with the Bright Line. It's just the fact that it's taxpayer funded. If they wanted to go after, their own funding and everything like that, that would be great. I think they should. I think they should probably do that. That's what typically a private business does.
100%. I agree with you 100%. I'm in the same boat as you. Fund it yourself. You're a private company.
Mhm.
But what about the bridge?
The bridge is a huge one. I think we should probably be going after the owner of the bridge. I think that would probably be the smartest thing. The owner, if somebody outside of our country is going to own our infrastructure, they should be doing something for it. They just owned it and sat there and it's rotted away. Do something for it. You own this, it's your property. If I owned a property here in Stewart and it started to just go to crap, code enforcement would be on me. I would have to do something about it. Why aren't we doing the same thing for these people? They're millionaires. They can do it. That would be my thing. I know we can go after a lot of federal grants for this kind of project, and that's one thing that I would be really focused on inside the commission. But I would want to see some accountability on the owner. If I think, especially if people outside of our country are going to own our infrastructure, they need to be adding to our community.
Yes, and just so the listeners understand, that bridge is owned by Florida East Coast Railway, which is now owned by Grupo Mexico. One of the richest billionaires in the world owns Grupo Mexico. He paid a couple $1 billion for FEC and now wants taxpayers to upgrade his 100-year-old or almost 100-year-old bridge. So again, you own the property, and every private business owner, especially small business owner, how wonderful it'd come in if the government just came in and paid for all your infrastructure and
Oh yeah.
upgrades, and you just got to keep the profit. But they don't do that for us. So why are we doing it for a foreign entity? Glad you brought that up.
Oh yeah.
You've identified water quality as one of your top priorities. Can you walk us through the specific policies or regulations you would support to improve water quality?
One of the, not necessarily policies that I would support, but one of the things that I'm really wanting to push for are large scale oyster and seagrass operations. That is one of the quickest and best ways that we can save our water for generations to come, not only for us to enjoy, for our economy to be boosted off of, but for our wildlife as well. Oysters are a natural way to filter so much water on top of seagrass filtering the water as well. That's one thing I would really like to do. Here in Stewart, we've done a very small scale version of this project of just oysters on a string. You can actually go downtown and you can see them all. They're hanging all along the boardwalk. I believe we did about 3,000 feet of that. But in my opinion, the water is just too far gone to be doing something like that. We need to be doing a project about 3 to 5 acres in size to actually make a huge difference.
So, one of the issues with that, Kylie, is the fact that every time we have discharges, it's so much fresh water, it kills all the oysters. So, it's wonderful that we go and put those oyster beds in, but they all get killed. So, how do you overcome that? And, the same thing with the seagrass that has died out over the last, 10, 15 years. It's been detrimental and drastic.
Horrible.
It's when the discharges happen, and the city of Stewart cannot control those discharges.
That's one thing that I do tell people is that you have to pay attention to what's happening in the Everglades and Okeechobee. One thing that we need to be supporting are the projects for the reservoirs. We need to be supporting the projects to send water down south when it's available. That's a big thing. Is we don't do that very often. We only do it when like very slim conditions allow it. We need to be doing a lot more, send it down south, and that would help a lot. On top of, like I said, we really need to be supporting those reservoir projects to be able to store that water properly, and so it's not discharging anymore. I grew up here. I remember as a little kid being able to snorkel the water, and you would see in the seagrass that there were like seahorses and everything like that. I haven't seen that since I was a little girl. And it's heartbreaking. That's one thing I tell my husband because he's not from here. He's from up north. He never got to experience that. You never got to see that part of it. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. It's something that I miss so much. It was awesome. You would literally just go look down and there would be tons of seahorses. You'd see all kinds of animal life in there.
I've spoken with residents that have been here from the 60s and 70s, and they said the water used to be crystal blue and the bottom sandy. Now it's
Oh
muck,
yeah.
and the water's, we all know what it is.
It's
So,
gross.
yes, exactly. So, Kylie, just to clarify, what's something the city can do itself to directly act on with the water issues versus, you can talk to the state. The state has some control, the feds have some control, Army Corps, but what can the city do?
While the city is specifically is pretty limited to what they can do, we need to have people that are big on going to our legislative our representatives and our senate, and we need to be going to them and making sure that they're working on these projects. We can't be making enemies with those kind of politicians. We have to be friends with them so they can actually do projects for us. We have to play this game the same way that the developers and big corporate is doing. We've got to go to our politicians and push our ideas to them. And so if you have to be friends with them and you've got to be nice and you just have to do this a certain kind of way. It's politics, no matter what you want to say about it. You've got to go about it a certain kind of way. And I think just playing the same game that they're playing is how we're going to win this battle.
Do you have any thoughts on any type of policy action the city can take?
I do like the fact that they've been in the lawsuit against a lot of the laws that have kind of prevented the amount of control that we have here. I think that the city of Stuart, the main thing is more pushing to our the state representatives that can do something about it, because we are very limited to what you can do in the city. The biggest thing that you can do is use your voice. Using your voice as a city commissioner or even as a county commissioner means, unfortunately, a lot more than just a regular citizen coming to these politicians.
Are you supportive of the environmental attorney that has been hired for the city of Stuart?
I don't know a lot about him to make a good judgment decision about them. I would like to see what they do for the city of Stuart before I make a decision about them. I am very thankful that we have an environmental attorney. That's pretty important, especially here. That's something I do just look forward to meeting him and seeing what he does for us before I say anything about him.
So you're not, the jury's out on the person himself, but you're supportive of that position.
Yes, I'm very supportive of that position. That's something that we definitely need here, especially with what's happened to us. I mean, we've had leakages into our wells and things like that. So I definitely think we need somebody that's specialized in that can easily fight any kind of battles like that for us. But the person itself, I don't know about them.
Okay, fair enough. And you've talked a lot about using more native plants in the city landscaping. Do you see this as a policy mandate, an incentive program, or more of a guideline?
Probably a little bit of all of those. I would like to have a lot stricter policies on native plants. I think if you're going to want to build here or move here or anything like that, you need to appreciate real Florida, not the exotic tropical idea of Florida that everybody has. Come here, learn our real plants, learn what actually benefits us. One thing I would like to do is kind of teach citizens and contractors how to actually use these plants, because it's not just throw natives wherever you want. There's a way to use them. There's ones that should specifically be used in salt. There's ones that should be used for drought areas. The biggest thing for native plants is the lack of irrigation that they need. Irrigation is the main water consumption here in Florida. It's not the amount of people flushing their toilets or taking showers or anything like that. It's just us watering plants and grass. That's the biggest problem. So if we push for more native plants, especially ground cover instead of just regular grass, that's the best thing. So I would like to make the policy a lot stricter on native plants, as well as use education and workshops here inside the city to teach everybody.
So this is something you would want to create a policy that is requiring folks to follow a native plant policy.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, is that something that would just apply to city property or also private development?
I think it would be something that I would have won for 100% native plants. I would want that for city property. For actual private property, I would only do about a percentage. I would say probably 60 to 70% native plant. And I would only really want that for new development. I would like to do kind of incentives for that. Maybe we take off a certain amount for your impact fees or whatever the case may be for that, but I would like to incentivize using native plants. That's something that I think you have property rights and you can do what you want with your home. So I think that's very important. But I do want to make sure that people understand that you don't get to come here and just build your tropical dream. That's not what Florida is. Come here, learn the real place, learn our real plants, learn our species, and appreciate that.
And a lot of the native plants as well, they're made for this environment. They're not adaptive. They're made for this environment. So
Yes.
sometimes they're a lot easier for folks to take care of if they understand that.
Yeah. They don't really need anything. If you use them right and you have somebody that knows how to plant native plants, they don't need anything.
And that's a good point, Kylie. How would you balance the environmental goals with the cost and maintenance for the taxpayers on that?
Well, like you said, they don't, or like we both said, they don't really need anything. So when you do things like that and you push for more native plants, the maintenance costs drop dramatically. I mean, even with the programs that we see with the wildflowers, just simple little programs like that just happen throughout the year. That's not a whole that doesn't happen the entire year. That's just a little portion of the year. That saves us money in mowing costs. So just little projects like this that support, not only our native plants, but they support our native pollinators and our native species. They typically end up benefiting us financially.
So let's move on to another topic. Affordable housing is a major concern, of course. What specific policy tools do you support?
So for when it comes to affordable housing, I think it's truly a scam. It's a way to be able to get a lot of development pushed through. With affordable housing, the issue is that how it's labeled at a federal level. Right now, they have it labeled under 30% of your income can go to um, rent. I mean, I just had to search for a home. I can tell you all of the apartments in this area are going based off of that federal requirement. It's about 30% of your income so for a one bedroom, one bath, you're looking at $1,800. So that is 30% of about $75,000. So the issue is how it's labeled federally. We need to change that. It needs to go down to, I mean, for affordable housing, it needs to go down to about 20%. We need to have more stricter requirements of what's allowed to happen in these affordable housing developments. I live in one of those affordable housings, and it's $1,800 for my apartment. I've got like a little one bed, one bath. It's nothing special. The issue is that these affordable housings are truly like luxury apartments. And so they're able to claim affordable housing, but the people that need affordable housing, they don't need all of these amenities. They don't need all these things. So we got rid of all that stuff. We would be able to actually make these kind of things affordable. So I think changing how it's actually labeled on a federal level is the most important thing, is how we're actually going to make a change with this.
So how are you going to prevent developments from being labeled affordable but priced out of reach? You're bringing in federal level, but you're a city Stuart commissioner.
So that's one thing that I've kind of spoke about, is we need to be hand on hand working with our state and our federal legislators. They are our teammates. They're not our enemies. These are the people that can actually help us on a local level. We need to be going to them and actually pushing these ideas and holding them accountable. If you want to keep getting reelected in these positions, then you need to be doing what's actually protecting us residents. And if they're not going to do that, us commissioners and us smaller politicians need to be showing that to the people. We need to be one saying, hey, we said and we asked these people to do this, and this is what they did. Pay attention to that when it comes to election time. Let's replace these people with people that actually care.
So, are there any safeguards that you could put in place to ensure the projects actually benefit local residents as a city commissioner?
You can always try and talk with the developers. They sit down and they meet with you and they want to know the easiest way to get this approved. And if you communicate with them and maybe label out what you're wanting for the community and you speak with the community about what they're wanting, that would probably be the best way to go about that, is communicating with these developers saying, hey, our community, we don't really want you here. So if you're going to come here, this is what we want. That's how we really need to go about it.
So that is actually one complaint in this community is the developers do agree to so many affordable housing units, but people want to know what's the follow up on that. So are there any existing policies, ordinance, or plans that you would modify or build upon to help ensure that that many affordable units were actually dedicated for residents?
Enforcement is something that I hear quite a lot about on so many different topics, is how do you actually enforce something? That would probably be something that I would want to speak with probably the building department and see if that's something that we could have code enforcement maybe check into. That's a topic maybe I would need to research a little bit more and get back to you about that.
Of course.
I think the biggest thing is, one, changing how it is federally, and then maybe when these developments are coming in, the federal requirement is just that it can go up to 30% of your income. Why aren't we, when we're working with these developers, say, hey, okay, you want to do affordable housing, I don't want the up to 30%, let's do up to 25%. or up to 22% or something like that. You're able to work with these people. They want their development and no matter what. So use that. You are the one that has leverage in that situation.
Have you had a chance to review the Stewart's comprehensive plan and land development regulations?
I have. It's a lot to read, but I have. It's been updated quite a few times. So it's been a lot, but I have read it.
Who have you consulted with in shaping your platform?
I've spoken to a few of our already commissioners. I mean, Sean Reed has helped me a lot. He's taught me how to use all of the different things on our for the government. So like the Muni code, everything like that. He's taught me how to use that. Chris has given me great ideas when it came to my campaign. But truthfully, I'm a small local girl. I don't have anybody behind me. This is all just me.
What was the issue or issues that inspired you to run?
Well, what actually got me kind of diving into all of this is what happened to a gentleman named Zach Gaza, which is the Hope Sound Farmers Market. The state is wanting to public domain part of the Hope Sound Farmers Market, and so I've been there. It's a super fun thing to go to. I don't know if you've ever been. It's super fun. I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's crazy that a New Yorker is what brought that this area. It's very important that we have things to actually be involved with farm animals, and so the fact that kids and everything like that get to be involved in that, it means a lot to me. So when I seen that that was kind of getting taken away from him, it really hurt my feelings. So I stood up for it. I went and spoke at the FDOT meeting. And that's what kind of just got me to dive into everything that's going on in Martin County. That's what got me kind of speaking about what's happening with some of our commissioners and some of the connections that they have. Where I eventually had some of the commissioners' team kind of reach out to me and say, "Hey, would you be willing or ever consider running?" And I was definitely willing to. I'm not somebody that will complain about something I'm not willing to fix.
That a lot of people are good at complaining and not so good at that follow up with coming up with ideas to fix. So that's good to
Oh yeah.
hear. Transparency is utmost important in local government and a lot of different issues. You do have your own business, as you said. How would you handle a situation where you might have a potential conflict of interest?
I don't really think I would ever come into a potential conflict of interest. I think the law is very clear. I don't believe I'm legally allowed to do any kind of government or county projects inside of an area that I'm elected in, so I don't think I would ever do that. I think if I wanted to do city or county or even government projects, I know plenty of people already in the government. If I wanted to do that, I would already be doing it. It's not something I'm interested in. I got into my industry to help the people and to stop them from getting scammed. I worked for a company that wasn't doing the best things. They were doing illegal things. I turned them into the government. I called the police on them and I decided, I'm like, if these people can be doing this corruptly, I can do this properly. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm not here. I don't do even commercial work. I'm only for residentials.
And I will say, Kylie, it was impressive that having a paver business, that's pretty much a male dominated industry.
I am actually the only woman-owned paver company in the country. So I am there's some that are half owned by women, but I am the only woman-owned and operated paver company here.
So, out of all the businesses you could do, what made you go into pavers?
Truthfully, I started this with my husband. My husband did pavers for the last decade. Unfortunately, in this industry, he broke his back. So he's not able to do this kind of stuff anymore. So he taught me everything that I know, and I'm so thankful for it because I love it. This is like adult Legos to me. So I get to enjoy the restoration side of pavers. So I'm going to them when they are 30, 40 years old and I'm restoring them to brand new. So I get to do the repairs, I get to do the cleaning aspect and the sealing, and I get to tint them a lot of times. I do installations, but that's handled by a crew of mine. But I get to specifically handle like the restoration side. So to me, it's like adult Legos. I could do this all day. It's so much fun to me.
I can tell you love it.
Yeah.
Kylie, how long have you lived in Stuart and what has your involvement in the community been?
I haven't lived inside the city of Stuart for very long. I'm actually just hitting a year here. Again, I've been a native here though. I'm born just north of here in Fort Pierce. For the community, I actually use my business to give back to the community. Every year I do free pressure washing for people. I don't just take care of my community. I go all the way up to Palm Bay, all the way down to West Palm, doing free pressure washing. So I take care of everybody and I do as many as people as I can every year. And so that's how I try to always give back. Other than that, I always get involved in any kind of beach cleanups. I think there's actually one coming up here soon, but that's one thing that I always try to do is get involved in cleanups. Trash is one of the things that we deal a lot with around here. It's pretty gross, and so I always try and get rid of that.
So, straight up, did you move to Stuart to run for this office or not?
It's funny, I've heard this accusation a few times. It doesn't benefit me to run here. I mean, truthfully, all of my friends and family and colleagues are in St. Lucie County. There is an open spot in St. Lucie County if I wanted to just be a politician. I mean, I can go run for that seat and it'd be county position, so it would be a lot bigger than this one. I didn't decide to run until December. I moved here in May. And so in December, when Chris's team actually reached out to me, that is when I decided that I would actually run.
All right. So, some voters have said they're looking for more detailed answers from candidates. How do you respond to that?
I definitely agree. I think that this is a game of typically sales. And so if you've ever been in sales and you've ever been taught sales, you're just kind of told to, if you're not getting the result that you want, just keep talking them in a circle, and you keep doing that, and eventually agree with you and they'll do what you say because they're kind of just confused. And so I think clear answers is pretty important.
Clear and concise.
Yes.
Why should voters choose you over the other candidate in this race? Right now, there's only one other candidate. That is the incumbent, Eula Clark.
I think this person has had the last 15 years to make a mark. I haven't seen any huge water quality projects brought by this person. I think I've seen a consecutive them being for just projects that they are involved in and that they like for a very specific area of Stuart. And while it's important to stick up for that area of Stuart, it's important to understand that your position is not district based, it's for all of Stuart. And so I just think it's time to give somebody else the chance to show what we can actually do for the entire city of Stuart. There's a lot of things that I can bring here. There's a lot of ideas that I have. Like I said, I want to bring a lot of native plants here that benefits us a lot. Our economy is based on our wildlife. So enhancing that will only boost our economy. So that's one thing that I would really like to bring. I do want to do these projects here in for our water quality, like my oyster projects. And then again, I think it's time to kind of clean up the commission. I think it's been a little unprofessional the last few years of just kind of somebody talking all the time just about nothing. Truthfully, I don't like that. I mean, everybody kind of says that about this person. They talk for a very long time, but nothing, we never really get to a point. Quite frankly, tired of that. That's kind of what you just said, is just talk. It's just a person talking and talking and talking and talks you into a circle, and you just kind of like agree with them because you just want them to stop. And so I'm quite frankly tired of that. And again, this person has had the last 15 years, I believe in term limits, but the last 15 years to do something, and they haven't done anything major.
So, one of the other big issues here in the city, of course, was the removal of Mike Martell, the previous city manager. Did you agree with that?
I don't agree with how it happened. I think there was probably enough evidence to do it with cause, and I think it would have been a lot less drama if we did it with cause. But I never dealt with Mike Martell on a professional level. I don't know him personally. I don't think I like everything that I've heard. I've heard that he was living inside of our city buildings, and while it may not have been fancy, I can't get the city of Stuart to give me an apartment or anything like that. I can't do those things. I don't think they were probably going about everything properly. I've heard from residents that he has done some illegal things to them as far as forging signatures on certain things, which has been proven. So there's been quite a few controversies that I've heard about this person that just makes me not like them, but I've never met them or dealt with them on a personal level to really know anything about them. I just definitely don't agree with how the commissioners dealt with the situation. I think it could have been handled a little more professionally.
And I think the person that was living in the, just to correct that, the city-owned building was I think it was the finance director. He was
One of them.
he stood in as the city manager after Mike left, Jolie. And then anything else, Kylie, that you want voters to understand about you that we didn't cover today? This is your platform. Let us know.
I think the biggest thing, again, that I really want to get out to voters is that it's time for a new face. It's time for some new ideas, and it's time for somebody that's actually going to stand up for you and it knows this game. I know how to play this game. I believe that the best way to actually win and do this is to do it nicely and to go after the people that can actually do something. We need to be holding them accountable. And unfortunately, like I said, the city commissioner coming to another politician, means a lot more than just the average person coming to them with an issue. So we need to be standing up with these people and fighting our issues to them and not fighting them.
Now, Kylie, if people want to support you, how can they reach you?
First of all, my phone number is always public. You can always call me. My telephone number is 772-867-1557. You can text or call me anytime. I'm a 24/7 business. I don't care if you call me at 1 a.m. Um,
Why?
yeah, I'm a 24/7 business. You can call me at any time. I don't mind. I'm happy. I'm here for you guys. You can also email me. It's my first and last name at gmail.com, as well as my socials are always Kylie Micciche. Anybody is welcome to reach out.
Fantastic. Kylie Micciche, thank you for joining us. You're running for
Thank you,
City of
Casey.
Stuart, Commission seat 5.
Yes, ma'am.
And folks, the other thing to remember is the vote for the city is going to be in August. It's not November. So, this is coming up really quick. And Kylie,
Oh,
I wish you a lot of luck. I always commend anybody putting themselves out there in this public realm. It's not easy. So I wish
it's
you
not.
well on your run. And it really has been a pleasure to get to know you here a little bit more today. And thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a great weekend.
You too. And don't forget to follow the Casey Ingram Show on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube for more real talk you won't hear anywhere else. I'm Casey Ingram. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again, Kylie Micciche.
Thank you.